They sang for me that day. The people I barely knew. My name is Margaret Evelyn Brooks. I am 68 years old, and for most of my life I worked as a public high school librarian in Chicago. I used to believe silence meant peace. That, if you stayed patient long enough, love would eventually find its way back to you. That children, no matter how busy, would always come back to their mother. I learned too late how wrong I was. The woman I used to be. For 32 years. I worked between shelves filled with books that smelled like dust and hope. Teenagers came to me when they had nowhere else to go. Some needed help with homework. Some just needed a quiet place to breathe. I listened to all of them. After my husband died suddenly of a heart attack, I raised our 3 children alone, Daniel, Susan, and Michael. I worked overtime, skipped vacations, chose practicality over dreams. Every sacrifice felt worth it when I watched them grow into successful adults. I never imagined that one day I would be the one sitting alone waiting for someone to listen to me. The day they left me there. The day my children took me to the senior care center, they were kind. Too kind. Too kind. Mom, it's just until we figure things out, Susan said, squeezing my hand. You'll be safer here, Daniel added. Michael was on his phone the entire time, nodding as if agreeing with everything. They signed the papers. Promised weekly visits. Promise, pone calls. I smiled and told them not to worry. That was my mistake. My birthday. 6 months later, my birthday arrived. I woke up early, dressed carefully, and placed my phone on the table beside my bed. The battery was full. The volume was on. Morning passed. No calls. Afternoon came. Still, nothing. I told myself they were planning a surprise. I believed that lie until evening. TA song. At around 4 o'clock, the door opened. A nurse named Linda walked in, followed by 2 caregivers. They carried a small cake with uneven frosting. Someone had written, "Happy Birthday" in blue icing, slightly crooked. They sang. Not perfectly, not confidently, but they sang for me. Primera, smiled. Clap it. Thank them. And Kev them. After they left, I sat on my bed and stared at the wall. The staff remembered that my own children didn't. That realization broke something inside me quietly. Without drama. The first fall a few weeks later, I slipped in the bathroom. Nothing dramatic. Just enough to scare me. The nurses followed protocol and tried calling my emergency contacts Daniel and Susan. Michael and no answer. Eventually Linda stayed with me until the pain passed. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because of the fall, but because of the silence. The truth I didn't want to face. I began noticing patterns. Missed calls that were never returned. Visits postponed again and again. Conversations that ended quickly. I stopped complaining. Stopped asking. I learned how to make peace with being an afterthought. The night everything changed. It happened late. A crushing pain in my chest. My vision blurred. My body refused to cooperate. I remember voices. Lights. The sound of urgency. The nurses called my children. No one answered. They called Linda. Instead. She rode with me in the ambulance, holding my hand like she had known me her whole life. At the hospital, I heard her say she has no family here. I'm her emergency contact. The words hurt, but they were honest. Recovery and realization. I survived. The doctors called it a warning. A reminder that time was no longer on my side. While I recovered, my children finally showed up, panicked, apologetic, overwhelmed. They asked questions. They looked guilty, but something had shifted. I realized love without presence isn't love at all. The quiet decision. One afternoon, I asked for the emergency contact form. I removed my children's names. I didn't argue. I didn't announce it. I simply chose peace over expectation. Linda became my emergency contact. Someone who showed up and they came before the storm. I didn't know then that another tragedy was coming. One that would expose the truth in a way no argument ever could. I didn't know that my children would learn not through a phone call, not through a warning, but through absence, the same absence they had given me for years. The call came in the middle of the night, and once again, their phones stayed silent. I woke up to a sharp pain in my head and a pressure so heavy it felt like the room was shrinking. The clock on the wall read 1:43 a.m. I tried to sit up. Primera. Couldn't. Primera. Couldn't. My right arm felt numb. My mouth wouldn't form words. I remember thinking one thing very clearly. Not again, please. Not again. The second tragedy, the nurses reacted immediately. Training took over. Lights turned on. Voices became urgent. Possible stroke. Call emergency. As they rushed around me, I heard the familiar words. Call her emergency contact. This time, there was no hesitation. They didn't dial my children's numbers. They dialed Linda's. She answered on the first ring. I'm on my way. The ride to the hospital. Linda arrived before the ambulance doors fully closed. She climbed in beside me, holding my hand, speaking calmly. You're not alone, Margaret. I'm Ere. I wanted to tell her thank you. I wanted to say her name, but my body refused. Still, she stayed. What didn't happen? No frantic calls went out to my children. No midnight notifications. No rushed apologies. For the first time, I was protected from disappointment. The hospital staff followed the form. The form followed my choice. The waiting room without them. In the emergency room, doctors worked quickly. Scans, tests, monitors, beeping in steady rhythm. Linda sat outside the room, filling out paperwork. When asked about family, she said simply, I'm listed as her contact. No lies. No lies. No drama. Just fact. 2 days later, I survived again. Weaken, shaken, but alive. Alive. When I finally spoke, my first clear sentence was, Don't call them yet. Linda hesitated, then nodded. Whenever you're ready. How? They found out. They didn't hear it from the hospital. They didn't hear it from me. They heard it by accident. Susan ran into an old coworker of mine, a woman whose sister worked at the hospital. Is your mom okay? She asked casually. Susan laughed. Of course, Angui. The woman froze. I thought I heard she was admitted again. The color drained from Susan's face. Panic, without access. Phones rang. Daniel called the hospital. Michael called the care center. Both were told the same thing. You are not listed as emergency contacts. They rushed to the hospital anyway. The moment of truth. When they arrived, they expected chaos. Instead, they found calm. Linda stood at the nurses' station. Susan spoke first. Where her children? Linda nodded. No. Daniel frowned. Why weren't we called? Linda looked at them carefully before answering. Because she didn't choose you. The words landed hard. Say, me again. Me. They entered my room quietly. Primera. Agua ese wake. Susan rushed to my side. Oh my God, Mom, why didn't anyone tell us? I looked at her and said softly, the same reason you didn't call me. Silence filled the room. No. Yelly, no accusations. Daniel tried to explain. We thought you were fine. You never complained. We assumed. I stopped him. Assumptins, don't sit beside you in the ambulance. Michael looked down at the floor. I didn't think it mattered this much. Primera? Not that. That's what hurt the most. Guilt, arribes, late. For the first time, I saw it clearly on their faces. Not anger. Anger, not defense. Guilt. Guilt, they hadn't meant to abandon me. But intention doesn't erase impact. Alain is round. Susan said quietly, we want to fix this. I believed her. But I also knew something else. Some things change permanently. I forgive you, I said. But forgiveness doesn't mean things go back to how they were. They didn't argue. New reality. Doctors explained my condition. I would need constant monitoring, consistency. Presence. Susan offered to take me home. Primera, declined. I need people who show up without reminders. That earth. Them. But it was true. They come after. After they left, Linda came back in. You did the right thing, she said gently. I didn't feel powerful. I felt peaceful. For the first time in years. What comes next? That night, I asked for pen and paper. There was something I needed to write. Not for revenge. Not for pity. For truth. For truth. And when that truth reached the world, nothing would be the same. The letter wasn't written in anger. It was written in clarity. I didn't name my children. I didn't accuse anyone. I simply told the truth exactly as it happened. Te letter. I wrote about my birthday, about the cake I never received, about the song sung by strangers. I wrote about lying on a hospital bed while nurses searched for anyone to answer the phone. I ended the letter with one sentence. Sometimes, the people who raise you become invisible to you. I folded the pages and placed them in an envelope. I didn't know who would read it. I didn't expect the world. How it spread. How it spread. A caregiver shared it anonymously online. Within hours, it was everywhere. Millions of views. Thousands of comments. People wrote things like, I just called my mom. This broke my heart. Please don't let your parents become invisible. The story wasn't about me anymore. It was about everyone. When my children saw it, they recognized the details immediately. Susan called me, crying. Mom, please, tell them it's not about us. I answered calmly. I didn't lie. Silence followed. Public consequences. Journalists began asking questions. Neighbors whispered. Co-workers looked differently at my children. For the first time, they felt exposed, not by cruelty, but by truth. One last conversation. They came together. No anger. No excuses. Just honesty. We failed you, Daniel said. Primera noz. Yes, you did. The words weren't meant to hurt. They were meant to close a chapter. Forgiveness with boundaries. I forgive you, I said again, but I won't live in expectation anymore. They understood. This time they really did. Peace. I stayed at the care center, where people noticed if I was quiet, where someone sang for me. Linda still checked on me every day. She never forgot my birthday again. What primera lea? Renet. I learned that love is not proven by words. It's proven by presence. That silence, when chosen by others, is abandonment. But when chosen by yourself, it becomes strength. Final message. YouTube ending. If you're listening to this story right now, call your parents today. Don't assume tomorrow is guaranteed. Show up while you still can. Like this video, if this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs the reminder. Subscribe for more real stories about life, truth, and consequences. Because one day, the phone will stop ringing, and you don't want to realize too late that you were the reason.